Hello everyone and welcome to this video. Now today I'm going to be reviewing this album. We're going to be looking at Paul Weller's Sonik Kicks. This is Weller's 11th solo album, released on the 19th of March in 2012. Weller's last couple of albums before this, which were 22 Dreams and Wake Up the Nation, have been departures from his usual music style. In the early 2000s, Weller was sometimes looked down upon a bit as kind of dad rock, making quite safe, quite predictable albums such as Illumination and As Is Now. But those are still great albums. They're just not quite as creative as some of his other works. And whether that changed with 22 Dreams and Wake Up the Nation, as those showed that Weller could do more experimental music but still get a lot of commercial and critical success as well. For instance, he won Best Male at the 2009 Brit Awards just after 22 Dreams came out, and Wake Up the Nation was nominated for the prestigious Mercury Music Prize. Also, around this time, in Weller's personal life, he recently married a lady called Hannah Andrews, who was a backing singer on the 22 Dreams album, and they had twin boys together. They got married around this time. They had twin boys called John Paul, after Lennon McCartney, and Bowie. That's the name of the two kids. Pretty cool names there for the children. But she is a huge David Bowie fan, and she turned Weller onto his music, and you can definitely hear a Bowie influence on this album and Wake Up the Nation especially. So the album was preceded by a standalone single, I think a Record Store Day exclusive, a song called Starlight, which showed the very sort of modern contemporary sound what this album would have. So when the album was released in March of 2012, it hit #1 in the UK albums charts. You can't really ask for anything better than that. However, in America, didn't do too great. Only reached number 116 on the Billboard 200 charts. That's despite a lot of promotional appearances, a lot of American chat shows and that Weller went on and whatnot. But he's never been huge. But he's never been hugely popular there. He's sort of a one-hit wonder, if you will, with Town Called Malice, or I think his biggest chart single there was My Ever-Changing Mood to Style Council. So yeah, he's certainly not as loved there as he is over here in Britain. So I'm now just going to show you my vinyl copy of the album here. First of all, I love the cover. I think it really suits the album, the music and that. The title as well, Sonik Kicks. It kind of gives a little bit away as to what the sound of the album will be quite contemporary, very sort of modern. Yeah, just really colourful and vibrant album cover here, and artwork design and whatnot. You get a couple of inserts with this as well. We got a sort of I think this is just a poem sheet here, just by a guy called Michael Horowitz. I think that's how you say his name. Just one of his poems sort of typed out on there, which is a bit pointless, but a nice extra. And then the record inner sleeve here just has credits and a nice picture of Weller, and then lyrics on the back for singing along to the songs. And the record label as well is a nice custom design as well. Yeah, so overall really nice artwork to this. And I think this album it's still readily available on vinyl. It hasn't gone too rare a lot of his other albums have. So yeah, I'm now just going to rank all of the album's songs. I will score each track out of 10 and then use those scores to give us a overall percentage marking for the album. So it opens up with a track called Green, which I'm giving a 8 out of 10 to. This is a very interesting start to the album. It's an instrumental piece with this sort of this throbbing bass synthesizer, and that really pulls you into the album, and it sounds nothing like Weller has ever done before. It was a kind of what the sort of moment when I first played this song, just what the hell's this? But it has grown on me quite a bit. I think it's a good I think it is a good introduction to the album, and it's not much of a song, there's no melody to it, but it's just a good opener to the album and a taster of things to come. Second track in though is a 10 out of 10 for me, The Attic, which I just love this track. It is a really short and sweet song. Like Weller said with this track that he was trying to pack a lot, into a small space, like lots of like ideas, lots of textures and like that. It really works. Like it's a little over 2 minutes this track, but it is just perfect, really. Very buoyant song, really bounces along nicely. Got like good strings on it as well, like they sort of like hold the song together and that. And like pretty good lyrics as well. So overall, The Attic for me would get a perfect 10.
Clang, 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 all the bells do peal. Cry, 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 cry.
So the third track in on the album is called Clink Language, which I'm giving a 9 out of 10 to. Now this is like a very up-tempo, very slightly sort of like jaggy song, like lots of like piercing like guitars and that in it. And like again, like the lyrics on this one, they do sound like nonsense. Like in some ways, like he was maybe like influenced by like David Bowie's like technique for like writing lyrics, what like he would sometimes use like his sort of cut up method and that, like where like he just like write like little phrases and that and then sort of like stitch them together. That's what the lyrics to like this song sound like, how like they were like written and that. But it is a great song though, like the electronics in it and like the production twists and turns, like they really do keep like the song interesting, and like it's quite a toe tapper as well. So that's Clink Lang and would get a 9 out of 10. Next song on the album is called Sleep of the Serene, and like this is like more like off like a transitional piece. Like I will like score this song though because it is like over like 2 minutes long, but it is really nice. It is just like sort of like a nice like linking passage, like really just like an introduction to like the next song, but like it is like quite good, like quite sort of psychedelic and like ambient and that. Pretty good song there, like again quite different like for Weller. So that is Sleep of the Serene, what I would give a 7 out of 10 to.
Come now beside the water, sit and rest.
The next track is called By the Waters, which I really love. Like on like an album which is full of like electronics and like synthesizers and like all that, like it is like very refreshing to get like a very sort of like bare bones track with only like a string quartet and like Weller and like a like acoustic guitar in it. Like it's very different from like the rest of the album. I think as well, like it is just like a great song. Like I mean, like it's got like lovely lyrics on it and like a gorgeous melody as well. So yeah, like I like really like By the Waters, although it isn't like a sort of like a go-to track like on the album, but like whenever like it comes on, like I find myself really enjoying it. So yeah, that is By the Waters would get a 9 out of 10. Next track up is called That Dangerous Age, which I'm giving a full 10 out of 10 to. This was one of the singles from the album, and like lyrically, like it's like quite like a witty piece, like about like sort of like a middle-aged man, like in like kind of like a midlife crisis, and that just sort of like living life and that, like it's like sort of like days in like the office and like whatnot and that. Like it's a good song. And musically, like it was like influenced by like sort of 50s like doo-wop like music and that. Like you have like that sort of like that backing vocals in it as well. But then again, like it sounds very modern, very contemporary. A little bit sort of like I hear like a bit of like David Bowie's sort of like golden years like in like this song here. So yeah, That Dangerous Age is a fantastic track, but for me would get a 10 out of 10.
Afternoon shape in the sunlight in your eyes.
Now closing side one, we have what is probably my least favourite song on the album. Is called Study in Blue, which I'm giving a 7 out of 10 to. Now this is like a like duet like with his wife Hannah, and like it has like a nice feel to it for like the first half. Like it is like a pretty good song, like nothing like too special, just like a good solid track, but I will probably like give like at least like an 8 out of 10 to say. However, it does go on and on this song, to like the point that where like towards the end, like it is like just like an instrumental like melody just like repeated, and that gets like a little bit like annoying for me, but the main bulk of the song like is like really good. So yeah, for that, Study in Blue would get a 7 out of 10.
She's like a dragonfly with no fire.
So opening up up to side 2, we have a track called Dragonfly, which I really, really loved. Again, giving this a 10 out of 10. Starts off with like this quite powerful drumming on it, a little bit like Joy Division-esque, like in like some ways, like sort of like the music like to this song, but like the lyrics like are like really, really good, like nice like imagery like in them and that as well. So yeah, Dragonfly, one of my favourites, a really, really, really great song.
Did you know your garden's overgrown?
Now the next song is probably my favourite like from like the whole album. It is a track called Wendy Gardens Overgrown, which I am giving the full 10 out of 10 to. I think this is like a brilliant track. It works like equally well like on like this album, like with like all like the production frills and that on it, and like as it does like a simple like stripped back like acoustic performance, which is how like Weller would sometimes perform this when like he was doing like promotional like appearances like for this album. Like he'd do it sort of like a bit more stripped back and that. I think it works great either way. Lyrically, Weller has said that this was like a tribute like to Syd Barrett, and like sort of like he like imagines that what like Syd's life would have been like if like he hadn't like had like all like his sort of like mental like issues, like his drug problems and that. Like had he just been like a painter and like sort of like touring like Europe and that, like it's got like sort of like travelling and that. Like it's a great song. Like actually, I think it's got like a great atmosphere to it. Really, really strong lyrics as well. So yeah, for me, a 10 out of 10 for Wendy Gardens Overgrown. Next track is called Around the Lake, which is a 8 out of 10 for me. This is another good song. However, it isn't, for me, like anyway, like it isn't like quite as strong as like some of like the stuff like before it, such as like Wendy Gardens Overgrown, Dragonfly, like that Dangerous Age and that. Like I think it's got like a good like energetic like performance on it, and like good like pace and like production like on it as well. But like for me, it isn't one of the highlights on the album. Like Around the Lake, what would get a 8 out of 10.
It calls me on, I can't get lost.
So now the next proper song like is called Drifters. However, this is preceded by like a little like I think 30 seconds like sort of like transitional piece called Twilight. It's not worth scoring. Like if anything, like I consider like that's just like the end of like Around the Lake, just sort of like the fade out to that song. But like it does like link like the two songs together quite well. However, Drifters though like is like another really good, really interesting track. Like again, like it's quite like an intense song. Like in some ways, it's got this kind of like slightly like disturbing kind of like feel to it. Like this sort of like very distorted like guitar riff that opens it up, and like sort of bass on it. Like they do work well. Like it kind of like plays off like the bass like and like the guitar, like they work together quite well. But like yeah, like it's a little bit weaker like melodically, but like a very interesting, very bold song for Weller to do. So yeah, that's Drifters, what I would give a 8 out of 10 to. So now the penultimate song on the album is like another one of my favourites. It's called Paper Chase, and like this is like a little bit slower than like some of like the songs will like have like come before it, like such as like Around the Lake and like Drifters and that. Like it kind of like sort of like softens the news like a little bit, this song here. Like again, like it does like rock like quite nicely, like it's got like a great melody to it, great lyrics as well, and like this really good sort of like build up, like almost like this wall of sound while it kind of like builds up like during like the fade out to this song. We get like little like references from like some of like the other songs and that like little like clips of like little bits and pieces like from like throughout the album, just like rounds off like the whole experience quite nicely, I think. So yeah, that's Paper Chase, what I would give the full 10 out of 10 to.
Think upon, look along, be happy children.
So now the album closes with a song called Be Happy Children, which I'm giving a 8 out of 10 to. Now this is like a lovely, very slow like piano song to end like the album. Like again, like it is like quite different, like doesn't have like a lot of like production and like electronics and that on it. It is basically just like Weller and like a like piano like going on it. Like it's really nice. Like he also like duets on this song like with his wife Hannah, and like considering that it was written like about like their two new sons, like it is like a lovely little song, like a nice track like to end the album. However, for me, it isn't like a go-to song. Like there are like better tracks like on this album for me, but it is quite nice though. So yeah, that's Be Happy Children, what I would give a 8 out of 10 to.
And my heart is open.
So overall, this album scores 88%, which is a terrific score. Really fantastic score there. My thoughts on this album, like, to sum up, like, it's like really consistently great throughout, and like it's kind of got like this kind of journey like effect like to it. Like it's really like hard like not to listen to this album like all the way through. Like all the songs like they link into each other really well, and like I really like the different mood changes like on this album, like the different like roads like it takes and that. Like it's a really interesting piece of work, I think. And like the title and like the cover, like Sonik Kicks, it just really like suits the music like inside. Like a lot of like these songs are like very like intense like production wise, but like quite fun as well. Like really like enjoyable album. And this is like lots of different sounds. It's very creative and very different like from anything like Weller's like done before. Like and like a lot of like the electronic sounds of that, like they do add like a lot of like depth like to like these songs, like different textures and that. Like maybe like these tracks like they wouldn't be like as effective like without like this production like on it. So yeah, like I have to hand it to like Weller's co-producer like Simon Dine like on this album, who like I'm sure was like in part like responsible for like the creative like sound like off this album. And like considering that like Weller was like in like his late 50s like when like he made this album, like it's very contemporary, very modern, very relevant sounding. Like I don't know off like any of like Weller's like musical like peers and that like who have recently like made albums which are like so like in tune like with like today's music. So yeah, like as you can probably tell, like I am a big fan of this album, and like I would like to know what you think of this album down below, like in the comments if you have heard it, and I will see you all next time for the next review. Goodbye.
Singing golden hair, stay in touch with the painter's mind. See something